And I'd also like to request Mr. Sudhir Joshi, Regional Secretary, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, to present a memento to Mr. Saurav Ganguly on this glorious occasion. Before we request Mr. Saurav Ganguly to address the gathering, I would like to invite Dr. Atul Nishchal. He's the Director of International Council for School Leadership, to please come up to the dais for moderating this part of our program. Thank you.
Well, since I'm already here, I think it's a very, very warm good afternoon to all of you. And I want to thank Madhupan Educational Books for giving me a chance to moderate a session in front of so many principals, and the dignitary I have with me is a legend of India. So let's give him a big round applause. And we hope to have a very wonderful session. We'll definitely have some room for some questions later on once we are done. So without wasting any further time, I think one of the big questions I have sort of always in my head is that being Saurav requires a lot of support from a school, parents, teachers. So what kind of support did you have that you became a legend?
Firstly, good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor and a pleasure for me here to be this afternoon. And I thank the Yes Chand group for bringing me here. I've been associated with them for the last 6-7 months now. It's more than just an association because, and I'll come back to your question, it's more than just an association because education and schools are very close to everyone's heart. And I see some wonderful faces in this auditorium, a new auditorium, and it's really nice to be here and share your moments, your career, your time you spend in school, and how schools influence your careers. It does actually, and to be honest, the most part of your career, people talk about parents, people talk about friends, family. To be honest, the most part of your career is influenced by your school because that's what you spend most of your time at. And you know, I've been a student of St. Xavier's Collegiate School in Calcutta, in Park Street, and I've studied from nursery till I finished my college in that institution. So I've spent a whole life in that wonderful institution. I don't know whether there are any representatives from that institution here in this hall, but I can tell you with a lot of conviction that at various stages of my career, whether in the stages of my growing up, whether in the stages of playing first-class cricket, and then going on to play for the country, and then captaining the country, and then going through the ups and downs which a professional person has. It's quite normal to every professional person. I think the influence the school has, the way they bring you up, the way they guide you through your career is very, very important. You know, I always believed in studying in schools which provided sports as well. Obviously, times have changed now, and with the pressure on modern schools of space and size, some of the older schools in St. Xavier's is probably a 100-year-old school, more than that, has had a huge influence in the way I shaped up as a person, the way I got influenced in playing the game, whether it's football and then with time cricket. You know, it's something which I've realized because I have a daughter now, and she's just passed out of class 10, and she's done exceptionally well in the ICSE this year. She got 97.5%. And and she studies in Loreto Middleton Row. So I make sure that you know, she spends a lot of time in school because I firmly believe that it'll shape her career well.
I think so. So that's a great thing that you've said. But as school leaders, sometimes, you know, when we have so many students, there are two kinds of students who play cricket or any sports. One who are really passionate about cricket and one who hate maths. Well, I'm a mathematician, so I know that.
And I can tell you I was the first one. I was the second one rather who hated maths. Who hated
So
maths.
it's destiny that we are on the same stage
Who
today.
hated maths, and I remember my maths teacher was Mr. Hassan.
Oh.
And he was a very, very tough teacher, very strict teacher. And you know, I could play football, as all Bengalis in Calcutta knew how to kick a football those days. And I used to play football, so I used to find a way to come out of my maths classes, and especially classes after the lunch break,
Right.
after 1 o'clock, to get back to the football field. And I don't think I misused it because
You definitely didn't.
no, because starting to do it as a time off from classes, starting to do it as a time off from your geometry and trigonometry and algebra, it ultimately turned into a career.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
You know, so they say, you know, the best things in life, as they say, don't come well planned. The best things in life happen by accident. The best things in life happen because you're mischievous. And the best thing in life is because you're trying to run away from something else. So in trying to run away from something else,
Well, we need to start
you picked up the
preaching.
sport. I see a gentleman here right in front of me smiling. And he spent all his life in sport, writing about the game. He was a part of the Committee of Administrators recently, who actually is being given the responsibility to reform Indian cricket. And I'm happy that he's left the job and he's sitting here with us, spending time. So that's a good thing he has done.
Oh, I think that's very wonderful, but let's assume that our principals, you know, so we always face a dilemma that, okay, how do we recognize passionate talent within a school system, right? So you have, I think in your career, you have mentored a lot of young cricketers to achieve excellence, and maybe you agree very firmly that if we are able to identify them at the school level, wonders can happen. How do we really identify the passionate guy and the escapist? Is there a tip that you want to share with them?
You know, I have a very, very important thought on this. And when I came here, before I came here, I prepared to speak. I speak on my own. And then as I got to know that there'll be you moderating this afternoon for me, it was nice in one way. But good you raised this topic. You know, right behind this convention center, within a stone's throw, which is not even 150 meters away, my school is coming up. I'm building a private school from pre-primary to college, right behind this building. And it'll be operational in April this year. And it's called the Saurav Ganguly International School. And it has come because of my passion to education. And not just passion to education, but giving right direction to young boys and girls in their career. You know, the pressure, I see my young daughter going to school and I've seen her grow up and go to school now. She's a bit older, a bit more matured, and she understands life a bit more than she did 4 or 5 years ago. Her school bag was at one stage heavier than her body weight. And I used to see her wake up in the morning, carry that bag and go to school. The answer to the question which you asked is that it is very important to give direction to young boys and girls, because life has changed. When I went to school, when you went to school, or when my elder brother went to school, the world was not so progressive. You know, I see my young daughter ordering dresses for functions, for marriages. And I think about what my father did or my grandfather did when I was a young boy. You know, when I was a young boy, Durga Puja is still the biggest festival in our city. And I grew up in a joint family where my fathers were 5 brothers, and they had their children. So we were about 10 or 11 of them, boys and girls together. My grandfather was so strict. And before the pujas, he would take all 10 of us, put them in a car, and we would go to one shop, and he would call the tailor and pick the same design, the shirt and the trousers. So actually you were like a school dress. Durga Puja used to be like a school dress. Okay. So all of you sat on the chair. He decided that this is the shirt, this is the trouser. You get the fitting done ready, and it has to be delivered for the puja. We went to the Chinatown, the old China Bazaar street. We would enter a shoe shop, and all of us would sit in one chair, and there used to be those slanted shoe measurement equipments,
yes.
where you put your feet and the shoe came out with laces, and even if you didn't like it, you had to have it. And now when I see my young daughter, when she buys clothes in the modern day with online and internet and Amazon and Flipkart, she just clicks it, and the next thing I see is a packet waiting at the gate. So I ask who it is for. He said, no, your daughter has ordered for it. So I said, did she pay for it? He said, no, she left in the morning and said, when dad comes, just put the bill to her. So that's what time is. And when you open the dress, you see that Deepika Padukone had worn in the last film.
Same dress.
In the same dress in the last film. So times have changed, and I think it's important that the school guides a young boy or a girl through their career. We parents have a lot of responsibility. Yes, we come back home in the evening. A lot of us are working parents. We have to work hard to get things going, to be successful. But when my daughter leaves home at 7:30 in the morning to get to Loreto at 8 o'clock, and she comes back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she's actually spent the best part of her day with teachers, principals, and her elder schoolmates. So I firmly believe that it's very important for all the school principals here to give direction to young boys and girls what to do. You know, it's getting tougher with time because of mobiles, because of Instagrams, because of Facebooks, because of WhatsApp. There's so much information in everybody's life that actually you realize that you spend more time. In the modern day, young boy spends more time looking at information, gathering at information rather than playing the sport or doing a dance. My wife is a very passionate dancer, and she's got dance school, and she's an ODC dancer. So she teaches about 1,000 students.
Wow.
But she cannot manage to take my daughter to go and dance because she doesn't want to dance.
Right.
I think I've realized over the years that she listens more to what happens in school than what happens at home. So actually, it's important that for a young boy or a girl to be guided by the principals. And I spoke to you about my school, which is coming up just behind this building. I have a purpose to the school. You know, the reason I want to set it up is, and I don't know whether that's feasible because I'm not half as knowledgeable as all of you here are in education. It's about management, time management. You know, with so much of pressure, how does a boy who goes to school 5 days a week, from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening, and then he comes back home, the maths teacher's waiting, the physics teacher's waiting, the English teacher's waiting, how does he play the sport? Or how does he try something else, which is a different talent than education? So I believe that schools should have a system of identify talent, because as much as education is a way of life, sports in modern day, especially cricket, is a tremendous way of life if you're successful. So it's about allowing that young child to do other things as well. So I don't know whether it's agreeable to all of the principals and teachers here, that the way I look at it is that if son comes to my school and he's got to come at 5 days a week, I don't need him to attend classes 5 to 6 days a week. You know, the school, the principal, the teacher prepares a curriculum where he studies 3 days a week, and then if the school teacher or the principal feels that he can play, send him to play for 4 days a week. But at the same time, take the responsibility of getting him prepared for the board exams or the class exams. A lot of times I feel, and it has changed over the years, it was not when I studied in St. Xavier's, because I played school for C division, B division, A division. A lot of Jesuit schools here will understand what I'm saying, because that was according to height. You know, if you were 4 feet 10, you played C division. If you were 5 feet 2, you played B division. And you went taller than that, you played A division football. So a lot of the Jesuit schools, St. Paul's, Don Bosco, St. Lawrence, will understand what I'm saying. So it's important that the school takes the responsibility of allowing a young boy or a girl to perform or to persist what he's good at. You know, somebody may be good in music. Somebody may be good in, singing. Somebody may be good in dancing. But the first thing a mother would say to a young boy and girl, yeah, don't do this because, I feel you should study, because studying has a guaranteed way of life. Sports, culture doesn't have a guaranteed way of life. You know, when you nick a Glenn McGrath and you get out in the first over, you cannot go and tell the umpire, I want to bat again. No, he'll say, please find your way back into the dressing room. So it's uncertain. There's no guarantee to success. And on the basis of it, a boy or a girl, when he or she grows up, has to do both sides parallelly. And it is for the school to guide that young boy on that direction. Get to an age of 17, 18, because then you realize how good you are. You know, look at young Prithvi Shaw, look at Rahul Dravid, or look at Sachin or Virat Kohli. At a certain age, you realize that whether that person is good enough to pursue a career in sport. Because career in sport is not easy. Because there are millions competing, only 11 can play. And only few can play for over a long period of time. So it's not easy. The failures, there are people selecting you. Any profession where somebody else selects you is never easy. That's why I always believe that individual sports is a lot better than a team sport. So I think it's important that you guide a kid to a certain age, and then you tell your parents, that listen, he can be a good cricketer. You pursue with him. You can allow him to study a little less, but push him to sport. You know, he can make a career out of it. So I think that guidance is very, very important from schools, from colleges. You know, I at one stage of my career when I was in St. Xavier's and I just passed my class 12, and I was on the verge of playing for the country. I was playing Ranji Trophy. The Ranji Trophy season is in the winter when it's November, December, January, February. And I used to study in St. Xavier's. Father Malaikal was my principal in college. And he was very strict. But I couldn't attend classes because I used to be on the ground all the day. So one fine morning, he called me up and said, you know, you can't play. You can't play because you have to study. You don't attend classes. There is a certain amount of percentage of attendance required to appear for the board exam. So you decide. So I went home to my parents and said, okay, fair enough. This is what I'm getting. I have to leave St. Xavier's. I went to South Point School where Derek O'Brien was the principal then. Derek or Neil, I can't remember, was the principal. And I went up to him and said, the reason I come back to this school is because I want to play. And I was fortunate that Neil said, no, Saurav, you play, we'll manage your studies. So I went back to St. Xavier's and asked for my transfer certificate. I said, will you allow me to go because I can't play here? Luckily, I had Father Boucher, who's no more with us here. He said, no, we've thought about it. We did not know that you were playing Ranji Trophy. I don't think he read the morning newspapers. So we realized that you play first-class cricket, so we'll try and balance you out. If that day, my principal said that either you stay in college or you go to the ground, maybe I would not have been able to pursue the sport. So I think that's very, very important for every young boy and girl to be guided in the right path by colleges and schools, because sports is a way of life. Sports is not just a way of life financially, but sports teaches you a lot of things in life. You know, the other day, I was in Symbiosis College in Pune to speak on leadership and team building and how to create champions. The owner who is a very successful person, it's a fantastic college on 350 acres right up on the mountains. It's a fantastic college, and I told him the same thing, you know, I'm trying to get into education because I'm very fond of it. You know, you've been such an experienced person. What is education for you? And the best thing he said, education for me is a lot more than books and classes and colleges. And I think sports is one which actually gives you a lot more than just books give you. It teaches you leadership. You know, when you lead a country, you know, it's never easy. There are thousands of opinions outside than what is inside the dressing room. So it allows you to handle the leadership. For me, when you get out of college, when you get out of business schools, when you get out of management schools and go to a job, you work for the Google, you work for Tatas, or you work for Birlas or Ambani's. Leadership is very important. It's how you manage the people who you work with. And for me, that was my biggest lesson when I captained India for 5 to 6 years. It's about managing the people who you work with. Sports teaches you that. Sports teaches you to be patient. Because there are days in cricket when you work the hardest, but you've got an absolute beauty of a delivery from a fast bowler and you've nicked it. So you come back to the dressing room and say, you know, this is not right. This is not life. You've given everything off the field, and all what you get is a good delivery which gets you out. But what also it teaches you that you have to come back. You have to come back, be patient, make the most of the next opportunity. So it teaches you to be patient, it teaches you to persevere, and it teaches you to handle pressure. You know, when you walk out to bat for India, once you cross that rope, it's just you. It's just you. And when a Brett Lee or a Shoaib Akhtar running at 150 kilometers an hour and bowling at that pace, if it hits you, you die. You know, you look at the Formula One races, whether it's in Hamilton or in Alonso or whoever it was on TV last night, look at the speed which they drive the car. A small mistake will actually finish them forever. You know, Michael Schumacher, you know, he was in hospital, he was in coma, he was paralytic for good 3-4 years. So you're actually playing with your life. And when you go through such periods, as an individual, it actually makes you stronger. A lot of people ask me that, how do you handle pressure? When there is pressure at the top level, the media knows more cricket than you do. When you walk out, when you play for the country, it even gets somebody as soft as Rahul Dravid excited. You must have seen him get 100 in Eden Gardens when we beat Australia in 2001. The first thing he did was show the bat to the media upstairs. So, you know, it teaches you how to handle pressure. And the best way to handle pressure in sport is to go through it. When an individual goes through pressure day in, day out, it becomes a habit. You don't worry about it. You find a way to go around that and create and be successful in spite of pressure. You know, Virat Kohli, you know, he probably has the most pressure in world cricket. Captain of India, captain of RCB. Every time he walks out, people say he's the best batsman in the world. He fails 2 innings, they'll say he's not the best batsman in the world. So he's going through those emotional ups and downs every day of his life. And you see him remain calm, you see him remain concentrating on his sport, and you see him finding ways to succeed at the top level. So that teaches you a lot in life. Because when you finish sport, everything has to finish. Sport doesn't go on forever. Somebody play 15 years, some like Tendulkar play 20 years, but not many of them. But when you finish at the age of 38, 39, there is a lot more to life than just playing. Because whether you're a tennis player, whether you're a football player, whether you're a cricket player, at the end of the day, you give up, but life still remains to be led for the next 45, 50 years, which is probably the most important. For a corporate, you know, you start your life at 40. You become a CEO, you become a chairman, you become an MD at the age of 50, 55. But for a Dravid, for a Tendulkar, for a Sampras, for a Maradona, at the age of 35, it's over. You know, you've seen the best. For gymnasts, it's even younger. So you've seen the best and you finished with the best. So, and it's never the same. It's never the same. The high, the pressure. You know, somebody asked me the other day that Saurav, you do so many things once you finish the game. What is it that you miss? I said, you know, once you finish the game, and if you're a Dravid or a Tendulkar or a Lara or a Kohli, there'll be nothing short, or you won't wake up in the morning and say what I do, because there's so many things to do. But what you will miss is that when you were a player, you woke up in the morning under pressure, you woke up in the morning nervous, and by 4:30 in the evening, you were either a success or a failure. You know, no job, no profession, no business will give you that. You know, I do a lot of work in front of the camera. These days, you know, I host shows, I do television and cricket, and host a lot of other things. You know, and with due respect to everyone, once you've played a sport, and once you've gone through that pressure of being judged, once you've gone through the pressure of being said you're rubbish, once you've gone through the pressure of being said that you're the best the next day, everything seems easier. Because everything has a retake in life, sport doesn't have.
I think that's so well put. I think there's a big lesson for all of us there. Sometimes we feel as principals, we are under the biggest pressure cooker, right? We have the most, I mean, really, that's how principals feel every day. But looking at the kind of pressure that you had to go through, we look like on a holiday. Right? I mean, it's so easy. Nobody's...
You know the best jobs, why I say is of a principal?
Yeah.
Because people come to you for jobs. You don't have to. And for us, we have to go to people.
No, I think, but that's not true in your case. See, I think as a general sports people, you can say that, but I think you have very well traveled the journey from being India's most successful batsman, opening batsman, then a great captain, a leader of the team with a vision, and you defined the future of cricket team. In fact, I mean, there are only two eras that I can think of, pre-Ganguly and post-Ganguly. There's nothing else happens in cricket. So I think you brought to the team a vision, right? So there was a transition from being a captain to a leader. And now from, being a leader, India admires you as a legend. So how do you feel that transition has been in terms of your role towards the society in general and the future of even education?
Life is about attitude. It's about what you want to do with it. You can choose the option of being someone who's safe and going the regular pathway where you won't get criticized and people will say, "Oh, his past generations haven't done it." So don't expect too much from him. Or you take the other path and say, "I'm going to make a difference. I've been given a job, any job, whether you're the captain of the country, whether you're a journalist, whether you're a television presenter, whether you're a film star, or whether you're an educationist. It's about making a difference in life." And I think people will only remember you if you've done something different, if you've done something what others have not done. But there's risk in it. You will be criticized to death. People might ask you to leave. People might throw you. People might say that your way doesn't work. But if it succeeds, you create something which remains forever.
I think that's a great message for all of us to define a vision for our schools and try to do something really different.
And also I would add to it, the biggest urge for everyone in life is to get better. There's only two things in life. Either you go forward or you go back. There's nothing called stagnant, whether in business or in sport. As an athlete, you got to keep improving. If you've got 100 in the last test, next time you get 100, make it a double 100. It's a no-brainer in life that if you feel that whatever I've achieved is fine and I can live on it for the rest of my life, you won't. Because there's always someone next to you who actually goes past you at some stage. So sport teaches you that in life. Education teaches you through books. Education teaches you curriculum. Sport teaches you reality of life. How to compete, how to stay on the system, how to find ways of coming back. It is important that when you get to schools and you send your children to schools, it's important that you balance education with sport and actually give a holistic development to every young boy and girl in this part of the world. Because I firmly believe that to be a successful person in life, it's not just about books. It's about character. It's about handling situations. It's about reacting to situations. It's about how you carry people with you. A lot of us believe that, okay, the best way to be successful is that if somebody is good, don't allow him to prosper. It's never the case. The best in the world carry people along with them. The best leaders in the world take the successful ones with them and make a successful unit. Because in a team sport, whether you play in a cricket team, whether you work in a corporate, whether you work in the best business house of the world, it's about people who you work with. If they deliver, you deliver. I became a good captain because when I won the toss in Headingley in 2001, Rahul Dravid batted his guts out to get 150. Well, I came down later and got 150 as well. Sachin got 150 as well. But my job became easier because somebody at number 3 got 100. When Dravid was captain, he won in England because me and Sachin batted our guts out in the third day morning in Trent Bridge. And India managed to win. So good things never happen on your own. Good things never happen by one person. Good things happen when you're together as a team. Good things happen when the people around you are given a space, are given space and given freedom to express themselves. It's about allowing the talent to express his talent. A lot of our coaches, a lot of our teachers, a lot of our friends or bosses believe that my way is the only way in life. It's never the case. If you believe my way is the only way, you will never be successful. The best in the world actually learn from others. They are aware, they are awake, they know what's going around and try and implement in their work style how to get better. When I came as captain, I knew nothing about captaincy. The first team meeting when I was asked to go and talk, I had Azhar, I had Sachin, I had Anil, and I had Jadeja, who've all been captains of India before. I remember telling my wife before I went to the team meeting, it was in Cochin in the year 2000, I said, I've got the team list ready. I'm going to announce the team and ask others to speak before I settled down because I was nervous.
Right.
And I was leading people who were actually my captain. So it's about carrying individuals with you and creating an atmosphere to develop. So it's about team, it's about togetherness. That's the only way you can be successful.
Right. I think that's how schools succeed, right? One of the big things that school leaders who are gathered here do every day probably is inspire young students to be their best, to achieve excellence. I think that's at the heart of each one of us as educationists. You've done that successfully. You have, without even meeting people, you've inspired people. Any tips for school leaders to inspire young guys to be their best? Because I think the self-belief that you got to the Indian cricket team, the Ganguly aggression that came into the team, you created an attitude to win. From, before you as a captain, we were playing. After you, we were playing to win. That was a big difference.
Yeah, that's the only way you can survive, as I said. In any profession, it's only about getting better. Every span, every year, every season, every decade, you need to find ways to get to the next level. And when you talk about inspiration from school, from teachers, it is a must. You have to show young boys and girls the direction. If you open the television in modern day, especially in Bengal, and I say that with due respect, you see so many things happening in schools and colleges. And I think it's a responsibility of the principals, the teachers, the vice chancellors, to actually be friends with the students. Yes, be tough, demand performances, demand results, demand discipline, but you can only do that by being friends. You can demand discipline by dictatorship for a certain period of time, but ultimately that will not remain. But by being friends, by being guides, by being philosophers, you can actually get a lot more out of young boys and girls than just by saying that this is the way you have to do it, this is the way I see it, and that's the only way you can do it. I don't think that survives for a long period of time. So it's important to be friends, it's important to be a guide to a young boy and a girl, because a lot of things my daughter or your son or somebody else's daughter will not be able to confide to parents. Yes. You go and speak to teachers that I'm having this problem. I'm having issues studying history. I can't concentrate. I've liked somebody and he doesn't look at me. So all these are normal issues in life, and I think by being a friend, you can actually make a lot more difference, because children, they respect their teachers, they respect their principal. I see that with my daughter. When my teacher comes in, when her teacher comes in, she's ready, she's made sure that the books are in the right place, she's made sure that, the lady who works in the house is preparing tea for the teacher, because it's out of genuine respect. When the dad walks in, and if you ask somebody, she might say, go and pick it up from the kitchen. So actually they have a lot more respect for their principals and teachers, because they feel that they are the people who are going to guide them through in their profession, in their lives. And I think being a friend, being a philosopher, being a guide is far, far important than just being a strict principal like one I had in school. Every time I got late to school, he would ask me to put my palms open. So it's times have changed, and hopefully young children could get guided in the right way.
Today the law is pretty tight. If you cane a child, the teacher goes to jail. So it's not that easy to cane somebody now. But I think we've had a wonderful session. If you have any questions, one or two questions, we can open the space for that. Yes, I have a question right there.
Good to see you.
Thank you. I'd just like to add a couple of things to your wonderful talk, Saurav. We have never met, by the way.
No, we've met.
We've never met. I'm a historian, my memory is better than yours. But anyway, I watched you score your highest test innings in Bangalore.
Against Pakistan, 230.
Fabulous innings. I watched every stroke of it, including. But the two things I wanted to say about Saurav to the crowd, which were implied in your wonderful moderation and in what he said but not brought out. His two greatest achievements. There are many, but two that stay with me and are relevant to educationists and to the session we had in the morning and what we want to do as Indians. You know, you said that before Ganguly we played and after Ganguly we played to win. But in my view, there was something more important here than that. Before Ganguly, every Indian cricket captain, except one, was parochial. A Delhi chap would promote a Delhi player, a Bombay chap would promote a Bombay player. There would be rivalries. The past captain did not, the next captain. The first non-parochial Indian cricket captain, I say this as a historian of cricket, not off the head, top of my head, was a Jamai Babu of Kolkata, Tiger Pataudi. And the second non-parochial cricket captain was the son of Kolkata, Saurav Ganguly. So that's what he did. And the people after you carried it on. So whether it be Dravid or Kumble or... So I think that's one extraordinary achievement, more than winning, because winning and losing is, you know, on the day. The other thing I want to say is a personal memory. You know, what Saurav and his generation, that is Anil, Rahul, Sachin, Lakshman, the 4 or 5 of them did, was of course to comprehensively get Indian cricket beyond the match-fixing era and restore credibility, pride, dignity, teamwork. And one memory of yours, which has always stuck with me, of you, is after you stopped being captain. And this was in Australia in 2008. Anil was captain. Anil had succeeded Dravid. And you were fielding at short leg. Now, I played cricket with Arun Lal, who was my captain, by the way, who was also your captain. That's one of the things we said. In every Indian cricket team, the junior-most guy would be short leg. Now, if our most successful former captain was short leg, in the most difficult and arduous fielding job, it's testimony to the teamwork all of you built. So I wanted to congratulate you on these two things.
Thank you. He spoke about Anil Kumble. If Anil Kumble bowled, anybody could stand at short leg. He was so accurate. So you were safe in silly point and short leg because you were such a champion bowler.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes, hi, madam.
My name is Hema Narayan.
Yeah.
I represent institutions called Sudarshan Vidya Mandir in Bangalore. So you spoke about the escapist cricketer, for want of a better word, escapist sports person and the passionate sports person. My question is, there is another kind of sports person these days, one who looks at numbers, not the mathematical kind, but the kind that he can accrue as remuneration from the game. It has entered an area of commerce, probably not imagined earlier, but definitely to a young student now. How do you keep the spirit of the game alive, the idea of playing for just the sport and the joy of sport at times like this?
See, I think this question was never asked before because the commerce in sport was not as strong as it is now. And for me, I believe that's the right way. Because you give your best part of your life in playing the game. You look at English football, you look at tennis, you look at golf. For any young boy, the age from 17 to 35 is the most important age of his life, of her life. What she does, what she learns, what she develops, carries her through the rest of her life. She improves, she gets better, but it's like the base of a building, the foundation of a building. You give your best time during that period playing the sport. So commerce, I feel, is very, very important. But the modern day athlete, the modern day sportsman realize that commerce will only be there if you play well. If you don't play well, if you're not around for a long period of time, the commerce is not there. So it has got an indirect connection. The first one more important, being good at your job, being good at your profession and being the best. The next one follows. It's never the other way. It's never that commerce decides how good you are. It's how good you are decides commerce. So I think players understand that You know, the reason Virat Kohli is the poster boy at the moment, and every generation has created poster boys. You know, when Gavaskar played, when Tendulkar played, when Dravid played, now MS Dhoni played, now Kohli, and there's going to be somebody else in 10 years down the line. That's the name of the game. Whether it's Maradona, whether it's Messi, whether it's Ronaldo, or whether it's some young player coming in the next 10 years. So it's always guided, commerce is always guided by your talent, by how good you are on the field. And I think that's very important for everyone to understand. And I'm a firm believer in commerce because you give the best part of your life playing the sport. You know, Sampras, how many people are as good as Roger Federer at the age of 35, 34, 35, still winning Grand Slams? Most of the tennis players, once they get to 28, 29, there's a younger boy who's so good, just speeds past him and becomes a Wimbledon champion or a French Open champion or a US Open champion and just gets past him. So that's the way it is in sport. Its career is short, the span is short, and one has to make the most of it.
Mr. Saurav Ganguly has a very urgent meeting to attend, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't think we'll take any more questions.
So
Just
thank you. Yeah.
one more? Okay.
Okay.
So 2 or
So
3
one more
minutes.
question then.
Yeah, can I have one question, please?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Saurav Ganguly, the most and one of the handsome captains that we ever had in the Indian cricket team. My name is Mr. Rajan Babu, and I represent Seventh-day Adventist School in Vijayawada. Mr. Ganguly, you have been an exceptionally a great leader of Indian cricket. But the entire country, in once, at the saddest part of every cricket lover, we play cricket in high school and colleges, but one of the outstanding captains that we ever had, or India had ever produced, the exit of that captain was rather a very sad note. As an Indian, as my blood flows in my body, I cannot see that outstanding captain make an exit from the cricket world by one small decision by the coach. In this, the leadership that you have pointed out rather gives us an emphasis that every coaching or every coach is not a supporter of any player of his choice. And you have become the victim of that little incident that took place. And ultimately, your career is a little bit of in a different mode. Could you please explain, in the recent times, you have posted one message in Twitter. I have read your message. The differences between Greg Chappell and you have made you strong in the later part. As a principals, as a students, what message should we carry back home with your experience? What you have with your coach and your captaincy?
I got left out in 2005 for a period of 6 months. I did come back and play after that. I was not captain anymore, but then that's not the only reason to play. So I came back and played another 5 years after that. I finished in 2009. So it was not the end of my cricketing career. But yes, obviously it was a jolt. It was a jolt from the blue, and as I said, there's no guarantees in life. I look at it positively that, you know, how many, before me and now MS Dhoni has taken over, no Indian captain has captained 200 games for the country. MS Dhoni is the one who did after me, and he's gone past me to do even more. So I look at it positively that I was fortunate enough to captain so many number of games. Yes, what you said, I think every athlete, every cricketer, every footballer, every sportsman who's done good for the country for a long period of time needs a better way to exit. To correct you, 2005 wasn't an exit. Exit was 2009, which I thought I was fortunate enough. I played my last series, got 100 in the last series, and could go whenever I wanted. In sport, one must remember that Your exit should be when people say you're still good, not when people say that it's time you go. And India has produced, has produced some amazing champions, and I have been fortunate enough to play with quite a few of them, the likes of Anil, Dravid, Sachin, MS, now Virat is one, VVS. And the best part of everything is that, you know, they have managed to plan or decide their exit properly. Don't worry about what's written in the media, because, you know, sometimes it's exaggerated, because media never has the right information, because they're not actually in the thick of things. It's a lot of it is also on hearsay, perception, because you don't get access to the right people all the time to know exactly what has happened. I'm sure there are leaks, I'm sure there are emails leaked, but those emails which are leaked for a certain purpose. So I don't think everything what happens for bad. And as they say, you know, in life there's nothing called a perfect thing. There's nothing called a perfect exit. You know, it's just you just have to react to situations. You know, the best thing, and I'm a huge fan of Mr. Bachchan and his movies. I was reading a tweet of his a couple of years back, maybe a year back. He said, you know, the only consistent thing in life is when you're born and when you die. The rest of it is adjustments. So whether you're good, bad, ugly, you have to spend every day, every week, every year of your life adjusting, either with the family, either with the captain, either with the boss, or either with your daughter. It's just about adjustment and finding things to do well in life. So that's what you do.
So we'll stop here. Thank you for the wonderful questions. I would personally want to thank Madhuban Educational Books to give me a chance to moderate a session with you, Saurav. This is the best moment of my life, personally. I'll remember this forever.
Thank you.
And you know what? We need to really help him hear a big roar the way he listens at Eden. So I request a very, very big round of applause. Let's make it sound bigger than the Garden of Edens. For the tiger, for the legend, Saurav Ganguly. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. Great to see you after a long period of time. And hopefully you have a wonderful day. I think there are a lot more things coming up during the course of the day, and we hope you enjoy every bit of it. Thank you so much.